Right, you join me today back at the Oaks, where I'm going to be fishing another Thursday Open on Cedar Lake. You remember last time, if you watched the video when I shot a live match here, there was loads of bites to be had, a lot of little stockies still being caught, and it was just quite active fishing. That was sort of 6 or 8 weeks ago. The weather's changed quite dramatically now. It's really, really cold. The fishing slowed right down, and that's meant the tactics have changed quite a bit. So I think 75, 80 pound won the last time I was here. I was second with around 60 pound, I think. Today I'm expecting maybe 25, 30 pound to be a really good weight. So tactics wise, this time I'm lucky in that I came 2 weeks ago and I was lucky enough to win the match that day with 27 pounds. So I think that shows how hard it was. I had 14 or 15 fish. And that day, I started off on pellets in the deep water, feeding a few micros and fishing an expander. Fished that for about an hour, and I caught an F1 that was foul hooked, and I foul hooked another one. I had a few silly indications, and a few little skimmers and small fish. Now, that felt totally wrong on that match, and I still want to start off in that deeper water because there's not many anglers on the lake. I feel like the fish are going to want to push away from me. So I want to start away from the island, meaning I can leave that for later on to work my way across and try and not push the fish out my peg too early. So this time I'm actually going to fish hard pellets in that deeper water. So just at the bottom of the far slope, I'm going to tap in a few hard pellets, 2 or 3 at a time, hardly anything, and just see what I can catch. Hopefully eliminate them smaller fish. And because there's hardly any bait in my peg, I'm hoping I'll not foul hook any. So rig wise, that rig is first of all elastic, 7 Dura slip, just nice and soft. Everything's going to run out my peg. I'm going to land everything I hook, hopefully. Main line 0133 slick silk. Hook length wise 0104 slick silk and an 18 GPM, and that's with a lasso just to put my hard 4mm pellet on. And then for the float, this is actually a prototype from Gaz Malum at Malum Floats, but basically it's one of his carbon F1 carbons, but with a slightly longer solid bristle in it. And that solid bristle means I can fish with just a tiny bit more of it showing. It's a little bit more sensitive. I'll get a positive bite, and you tend to find with hard pellets, when one comes in your peg, you'll get some tiny indications before it goes under. So that solid bristle, I can just fish with a tiny bit more showing, see them liners without striking at them, and wait for a positive bite. And then shotting wise, dead simple, number 11 strung out right down the rig. That just gives me a nice slow fall to catch a fish's attention. I'm not going to be feeding much, so I'll lay my rig in a bit, try and cause a bit of attraction, something going through the water, something the fish can pick up. Then after that, my next rig is for fishing across. Now, last match I never had any problems across with them small fish, missed bites, foul hookers, anything like that, so I'm going to fish micros and expanders across there again. Same elastic, same line, hook length, and on that I've got a size 18 SFL. Float wise, 4x12 Tubatini Delta, same float I used in the last video that I've shot here. Float I generally use for all of my soft pellet fishing. I just like that rounded body, I can hold onto it, nice and stable, wire stem. And then shotting wise, a bulk sort of 8 inches from the hook, and a 6-inch hook length with a number 10 dropper sort of halfway down that hook length. So nice and positive, show up my bites. And on that I'm just going to look to tap in a few micros and fish a 4mm expander on the hook, and then maybe a little bit of crushed expander to try and draw some fish in the peg, especially them stockies. I'm planning on not really trying to fish that until probably halfway through. So once I've started in my deep water, I'll give that an hour, and then I'll maybe look to move and dob bread across. So I've set up another rig for that. Again, dead simple rig, same main line, same hook length, a size 16 SFL, just because the bread will swell up quite big. And then float wise, I've got a 4x12 Malman Speedy. That's shot dead simple, bulk of number 10 stots underneath it. I've gone with stots there instead of shots so I can move them about as I change my depth. And then I've got 2 number 11s down the line. That just allows me to drop my rig about, lift and drop it, get a nice slow fall of my bait, hopefully catch a fish's attention again, and maybe just catch a few before I go and start feeding some pellets over there. And then my last rig, this is going to be for throwing some maggots in shore on a top 6. And I probably won't look to feed that early on. I've plumbed it up both to my left and my right, and I'll wait till maybe a couple of hours in before I start feeding it, and I'll feed it to the side where I feel there's most fish. So if I feel like there's more fish to my right, I'll start throwing maggots to my right. If I feel like there's more to my left, I'll throw them there. Same elastic, same line. Hook-wise, I've got an 18 SFL. Float is the same as my hard pellet float, that prototype from Malman Floats, in a 4x12, and it's just shotted with a bulk sort of 20 inches from the hook and 3 number 11s below it. And I'm probably not going to look to, I'll start feeding that, after, like I said, maybe after 2 hours, and I'm probably not going to be fishing that till maybe last hour, last 40 minutes, and hopefully just get a little run of fish. So that's some shouted time now, just as I'm talking, so I'm ready to get started, and I'll keep you updated and let you know how I get on. So, an hour and 45 minutes into the match, and to say it's been difficult would be a bit of an understatement. I've just a couple of minutes ago caught my first fish. Really nice F1, probably 2.5 pound, but I've just had no indications. Started off deep water with hard pellets, like I mentioned I was going to do, and that was terrible. Spent nearly an hour across my 2 lines, and I've not had a single sign. So I've moved from there to dob some bread across, dobbed it the full length of the far bank, and again, not an indication. I've even tried going onto the bottom across there and just dobbing a couple of maggots about, see if I can get a line, or maybe even if I foul-hooked one or anything, just an indication there's something in my peg. I think if you can get a bite, even if you foul-hook it or miss a bite, it sometimes just gets some fish moving and causes a reaction. And other fish move about, you start to get odd bites. But again, I've not had a sign. What I have seen though, I'm on peg 39, and the next peg in is 32, which is round the bend on the back straight, about straight opposite me, so there's a big gap to my left. And I've seen, I think, 4 or 5 fish now top in peg 36, which is past the end of the island. So I know there's some fish in that direction. So what I've decided to do is plumb a new line up, 14.5 metres down the middle in the deep water to my left, in the direction where them fish are topping. Now I'm nowhere near where the fish are topping, but I feel like I'm fishing towards where the bulk of the fish must be. Instead of fishing pellets there, I've made a bit of a change. I've decided to fish maggots instead. And my thinking there is, I keep feeding pellets and tapping a few in, not very many, but nothing's happening. I've not had a sign, and I don't feel like any of that bait's being eaten. Now, I need to feed some bait to make something happen, because there's clearly no fish in my peg that I can sort of dob about and catch. I need to feed to try and draw some fish to me. And I feel like if I keep feeding them pellets, I'm just putting them in and putting them in and putting them in, and nothing's actually going to eat them. It's just going to build up in my peg. So if I feed maggots, at least some small fish will eat them, maybe some roach, skimmers, anything. First of all, it means my bait's getting eaten, it's not left in my peg. And secondly, just a little bit of competition might draw some F1s or carp in. So I've caught that one F1 there. I've had a couple of bites off tiny roach as well, so like I said, I know my bait will be being eaten. And I was going to plod along for a bit, keep fishing this line, keep dripping a few maggots in, and just see what happens. Hopefully I can draw a few fish to me, start catching an odd one, and then it gives me something to build on. I've started throwing some maggots in as well. Instead of throwing them to my left where I've seen them fish, I've thrown them to my right. Now I'm thinking there is, any fish that are coming from further down the lake are probably going to get as far as this longer line I'm fishing and not come past it. So the water that's not being exploited to my right, I've loose fed maggots there and hopefully draw fish from further in that direction. So at the minute I'm going to plod along, keep fishing this long line in the deep water, and if I catch a few more, great. If not, I might try feeding some maggots across. I'm not feeling like pellets are really going to be the way to go with how the match has started. Spoke to a few people that's fishing rock hard all the way around, so I'm thinking if I can catch sort of 10 fish, which will give me between 15 and 20 pound, that could actually be a really, really good weight on the day. So although it's difficult, you're never out of it, and really that's what match fishing's about. It doesn't always have to be about bagging up, it just needs to be about being competitive and giving yourself the best chance you can of winning or framing or maybe picking up a section. So I'm going to go and get on with it again, try and catch a few more fish, and I'll come back a little bit later, and hopefully there's been a bit of an improvement and some more action. We are now 3 hours and 10 minutes gone, 2 hours and 20 minutes left. I've got 3 F1s on that line to my left down the middle, where I just started fishing last time I updated you. and then I started getting a lot of problems with roach bites. So I've decided to start feeding some maggots across on 2 lines and start feeding that line where I've caught the fish a bit more positive. I'm potting in like 20 or 30 maggots at a time on that now and just leaving it. So every 15 minutes I'll top it up. I'm going to just try and give it an hour or so and see if I can get a run on it later on. I've caught a stocky across. I've only just started doing this though, so maybe I'll get a bite or two. I'm still throwing them maggots in short, so I'm actually feeling it's fishing rock hard. I know there's someone got 14 fish, but other than that, no one's really catching anything. So I'm feeling reasonably confident that I will get a run somewhere, either on that line down the middle to my left, or maybe where I'm throwing maggots short, but feeling at the minute like that line to my left could come good. I know there's some fish up that way because I've seen them top. So I'm hoping by just leaving it, feeding a bit of bait, I might feed them small fish off, get a few fish to settle, and get a decent run of fish there at some point. At the minute, I'm just going to plod away, tapping maggots on these couple of lines across, see if I can nick an odd fish there. As long as I don't get too many roach problems. If I do, I'll probably start another line up somewhere else across out of my peg with pellets again. So we're starting to get to that time now where I would expect a fish or two will be willing to feed, but hopefully at some point we will get a run of bites. With it being rock hard, I'd be amazed if sort of £20 doesn't frame the way it's fishing. So they're paying top 3 and 2 sections, so certainly not out of it at the minute. So I'll keep going. Hopefully I can nick an odd fish across, get a good run down the middle, and boost myself right up. For now, just have to keep going and see what happens. So there is 50 minutes left, and it is still rock hard. I've heard of someone who's got 16 fish for 20 odd pound, and then the next best I've heard of after that is 7 F1s and a stocky. After that's people with sort of 4, 5, 6 fish. So rock hard. Since last update, I've got another stocky across, and then I've gone back in long to my left down the middle where I've kept feeding them maggots. I've got 2 stockies and a big F1 there, and then I've just caught another roach on it. Decided to pot in another sort of 20 or 30 maggots and just leave it for maybe 10 minutes and have a look short where I've been throwing bait. I feel like if I'm going to catch another couple, that's the line I'm going to catch him on to my left. So I think I'm going to leave it 10 minutes, have a go here. If I don't get one, I'll probably fish the rest of the match out on my other line. Just hope I can nick another 2 or 3. I've got 4 proper F1s, 4 stockies. Could do with another 2 or 3 big fish or big F1s. Might be in with a chance of maybe nicking last in the frame or a section win. It's been rock hard, but because it's so hard, you're not so hard right round the lake, really does keep you trying and keep you motivated because you know you're not that far behind. So hopefully I get a little stroke of luck and there is just them few more fish to catch. A nice big carp would be a nice little bonus, so let's hope for one of them. And I'll come back to you at the end. And hopefully I've just had them few extra fish that I feel like I need. Right, back from a rock hard day at the Oaks. That last little bit of the match didn't really go how I'd hoped. I was hoping I might catch another 3 or 4 fish. Unfortunately, I've managed one more stocky and one proper F1. That's left me with 5 big F1s, 4 stockies, and a handful of little roach. And I finished up with £15.14. £36 won the match, and then after that was a £21, an £18, and then I was next. So I won my section, first place out with the main money. So decent result on a hard day, really. It's been hard work to get any bites. So I've just kept sort of plodding along and trying to make a bite from somewhere in my peg while I'm resting that area where I have had some bites. Unfortunately, nowhere else has really produced. I think I've had 2 small stockies across. But I think we've got to remember some days are going to be hard. It is winter. And even when the fishing is that hard and that difficult, there's still something there to fish for. So you really need to keep going, keep trying, and not give up. It's very, very easy to give up, but you just need to see today as a prime example. You need so few fish some days to do well in a match, to frame, to win your section. So by just sticking at it, persevering, even the worst days, you can sort of turn good. Hopefully soon the fishing will improve. This is generally about the worst time of the year. Tactics wise, I think at the start, to be honest, even though I didn't catch any on hard pellets or on bread, it probably was the right way to go because the match winners caught on bread and second place caught on hard pellets. So I fished the right tactics early on, I think. Didn't have any bites, unfortunately. Probably not quite right for my peg, maybe due to numbers of fish or species of fish present. But I've still enjoyed it. Hard work, but it's still enjoyable to just be out on the bank and fishing a match and trying your best to make the best out of a bad situation. So thanks very much again for watching. Please do subscribe and like, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to you and reply to those. I'll be back again soon, and everybody have a good Christmas.